You are now tuning into the Resilient Podcast. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 43 of the Resilient Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Aurelius, and this episode today is going to be very different. I promised you guys 3 episodes for the month of November, so here we are with the final episode on the final day of November. This episode is a reflection, a full circle moment. And honestly, a conversation I've needed to have with you all for a long time. So I'm ready to have this conversation with you guys right now. And I did mention that it's the end of November, so we are closing out the month, which is now a month that has been pretty heavy, transformative, and emotional for me. And for those of you that have been in sync with my entire resilience journey since last year, you understand why. And before I get into everything I want to share today, I wanted to take a moment to, give a shout out to everyone that's been part of the resilience journey, everyone that's been on the Resilience Podcast. And that's because for those of you that are not aware, we just hit another milestone, the 1-year anniversary of the Resilience Tribune, and we'll get into it. But I also want to give a quick shout out to my most recent guest, Shanel. And, she's a warrior, she's a storyteller and a woman whose strength mirrors the kind of resilience that, this podcast, the Resilient Podcast, stands for. Her presence, on episode 42, which was the last episode that we just had, reminded me that, like I've always said, healing isn't linear and identity isn't fixed. We are always becoming. We're always unfolding. So today I want to talk about the things that shaped this month, this year, and honestly, the man that I am becoming. So I mentioned the Resilience Tribune, and it is the 1-year anniversary of the Resilience Tribune, the publishing platform that I created last year for people to share their stories of resilience. As a matter of fact, a few days ago, there was a recent article that was posted, and it came from me. And it's a love letter that I wrote to myself because of the 1-year anniversary of the Resilience Tribune, some changes that I've gone through in my life, some transitions and whatnot. And folks, go to the website right now, resiliencetribune.com, which is right here on the bottom for those that are watching on YouTube. And, click on publications. You will see the latest article that was just posted a few days ago. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it here as well, too. So, folks, on November 19th, the Resilience Tribune turned 1 year. This was about a week and a half ago. And, it's been a year now. 12 months since I took the most painful chapters of my life and turned it into something meaningful. Something that wasn't just a platform, but a purpose. When I launched the Resilience Tribune last year on my ex-girlfriend's birthday, it wasn't out of celebration. It was out of heartbreak, pretty much. It was out of reflection and out of desire to take something that hurt me deeply and transform it into something that could help someone else. That's the reason why I created the Resilience Tribune. I didn't create the Resilience Tribune for me, as much as a lot of people say, well, you're the founding publisher, you created it because you wanted to do something to distract from the feeling that you wasn't spending your another birthday with your ex-girlfriend, because you had celebrated her birthday in 2023 when she turned 30, but her 31st birthday she was not going to be celebrating with you. And I'm like, yeah, but listen, I created it for anyone who has felt unseen, anyone who has ever suffered in silence, anyone who has ever been forced to rebuild their heart from scratch. This platform became my mirror, and in many ways it saved me. But I'm glad that I created the Resilience Tribune. I've shared some of my own articles this year, like a few of them, like about 4 or 5 of them, and it's because, yes, it's my platform, but for the first year, I just wanted to share as much as I can with you all, because I'll be honest with you, in next year, 2026, I probably won't I can't say that. I'm not going to say I'm not going to publish an article next year, but I'm not going to publish as many articles as I did this year on the Resilience Tribune, because remember, the platform is for other people to share their stories. So, last week, November 20th, it marked something else. It marked the date of the engagement that never happened. It marks what could have been the 1-year anniversary of my engagement to my ex-girlfriend APA, because I wanted to propose to her November 20th, which was technically midnight in Las Vegas, right? Last year, because I was going to take her out to dinner around 9-10 o'clock at night, have a late reservation in Vegas on purpose, so that once, it was time to, like, hey, can I get the check? We can do one more, like, hey, let's bring the cake out. And then as we celebrated her birthday one more time, once 12 o'clock hit, I was going to surprise her and propose to her in front of her relatives and whoever we had there that day with us at that birthday dinner. So again, last year, I had plans, real plans, to propose to her in Las Vegas, because she had never been there and she wanted to go there. And I thought, you know what? It's a great place to take her to for her birthday, and it's a great place to propose to her. But we all know that life took a different turn that I didn't expect. And by the time that date came around, November 19th and November 20th, we weren't together anymore, because unfortunately we broke up in March of last year. And I don't share this part of my story to dwell on the past or reopen wounds. I share because a lot of people grieve relationships, but they don't talk about the grieving, the grieving of the future, the future that I imagined for us. I was so ahead of everything because I was determined. I knew what I wanted. And, the version of myself that I was at that time, I was very, very, very determined. And, the version of life that I was preparing for, the version of who my ex and I were becoming. And then, this year, a week ago, on the morning of November 20th, when I woke up that morning, I sat on my bed quietly, and all I did was reflect. And I realized sometimes the hardest part of healing is accepting the life you didn't get to live and still finding a way to move forward with grace. And, it sucks that This all happened to me last year during one of the worst times of the year for me, which is November. You know, the only beautiful thing about November for me is that my mother is born in November. My mom's birthday is November 25th. So my mom just turned 67 a few days ago, a few days before Thanksgiving, to be exact. And that's the only good thing about November for me. But other than that, I start feeling around late October and then November, December, January, what we call seasonal depression. And it doesn't help that for someone who suffers from seasonal depression, this happened to me last year. I was supposed to be engaged. I was supposed to propose to someone. November could have gotten better for me because one, like I mentioned, you know, my mom's birthday is in November. Then two, my significant other's birthday is also November 19th. And, you know, even though her birthday is before my mother's, it would give me a reason to look forward to November every year. And I remember 2023, the seasonal depression was not as effective as it normally is because I was in a relationship and I was getting ready for her birthday. You know, I was freaking out because I was like, listen, I just want to do what I can. She was spending it with me in New York. It was the first time she ever spent her birthday in New York, and I just wanted to do what I could. So, you know, this month wasn't easy, you know, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You know, seasonal depression is real. And this year, it just hit harder. It hit harder than it did last year, even though last year it hurt. Because remember, 2023, I spent Thanksgiving, I spent that holiday with her. I went to Philadelphia for the day to spend Thanksgiving with her and came back home the next day. Last year, I was a little distracted again because I spent it with my friend Estefania and her boyfriend. He had cooked. So I went to their house for the first time, and, you know, I had some of the best turkey I ever had in my life. But, you know, this year, regardless of the fact that my family was home, my mom was home before, you know, getting ready for her upcoming trip. She's going to the motherland in a few days. This year I spent it alone. And I remember that the day before Thanksgiving, which was a Wednesday, right? I felt this unexpected wave of sadness hit me throughout the day. And it hit like a ton of bricks to the chest. I had a long day at work. I was working in Jersey City. And when I finally made it to my office that night, because I didn't go home, I went straight to my office because I had to check some emails and whatnot. I just sat there thinking, reflecting, feeling everything I've been carrying throughout 2025. And I said, oh no. Because remember, 2024 broke me emotionally. But 2025 tested me spiritually, financially, mentally, in ways I never, ever expected. And, you know, the holidays have a way of pulling out old memories, old hurts, you know, old versions of ourselves, you know, sometimes for those people that can relate when it comes to seasonal depression. They unfortunately bring back childhood trauma. They bring back family trauma, you know, loneliness, PTSD. And I realized something. I realized when I'm around positive energy, I feel grounded. But when the holidays push me back into environments tied to my childhood or my past, those memories, unfortunately, they come back stronger. And it becomes a battle between who I was and who I'm trying to become. And the reason why I took a pause a few seconds ago is because I started to think, men don't talk about this enough. They don't talk about seasonal depression. We don't talk about loneliness or sadness or silent battles. Unfortunately, we hide it. We bury it. And sometimes we even laugh it off. But this year reminded me that healing is not about pretending you're okay. It's about recognizing when you're not. So I'm going to talk about something. I want to talk, about a major shift this year. And this major shift, and I mentioned it briefly in the last episode, was leaving Dolce & Gabbana, which was a company that I was working for, over a decade. I started working with them in late 2011, on and off. I worked with them throughout, 2016, something like that. From 2011 to 2016. Then I came back to work with them 2023 full time. I stopped working with the other brands that I was working with, and I started working with them again. Dolce Gabbana was a company that became like family to me. Walking away was one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make in my life. But then it gets a little fun now. It's not going to be just, all seriousness and all sadness. Something happened. And, leaving Dolce Gabbana, I'll put it this way, life did something funny. It brought me right back to a company that I started with before I started working for Dolce Gabbana, which was named Coty. So it brought me right back to Coty, back where it all began, back to the brands that shaped my early career. I can't remember exactly the year that it happened. It happened maybe like around late 2016. It could have been early 2017. I can't remember exactly. But some of the brands that I used to work with at Coty, like Calvin Klein, Marc Jacobs, Chloe, they merged with P&G Prestige, and I was able to promote, Hugo Boss, Burberry, Marc Jacobs, Tiffany, and Co. Chloe, Gucci. I was able to promote those brands with Coty. So Dolce Gabbana had been part of P&G Prestige, and Dolce Gabbana left after that. After that merger, they went to another company called BPI before they became independent. Well, when I came back to Coty, it was like early 2019, I believe. And I worked with them all the way until 2022. So I worked like mainly the entire pandemic with them. And I left Coty, for the second time, because that's where I started experiencing with other endeavors. I started, doing brand ambassador work for Diptyque and, Amouage and Memo. And, walking back into Coty just felt awkward. It felt so awkward, but it was poetic at the same time, because, I had been asked for a while, can you please come back to Coty, from a former colleague. And I kept saying no, just like I said no to Dolce Gabbana, before I joined them again in 2023. But I kept telling this colleague no, that I wasn't interested, that I didn't want to go back to Coty, that I had moved on from Coty and I wanted to do bigger and better things. But I ended up going back. So that's why this article that I posted a few days ago on the Resilience Tribune, you guys are going to check it out. The name of the article is "The Prodigal Son Returns," and that's the reason why I named it that. But coming back to Coty, it felt like closure. It felt like life coming back to a chapter that wasn't finished yet. And that's the way that I took it. And I realized that, sometimes God sends you back to a place you once left, not because you failed, but because the version of you today is finally ready for the opportunity you weren't ready for before. And that's the way that I took it. That's the way that I saw it. So I want to take this moment to have a Terramana toast to going back to Coty for the decade that I worked with Dolce Gabbana. And, for the holidays, we just had Thanksgiving. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Wow, December's around the corner. And I have to talk to you guys about something before the episode ends. I have to give you guys an update, a serious update about something. But before that, this is Terramana Blanco. And this is a Terramana toast to the holidays, to everyone out there that is going through something, to my late friend and former colleague, Ben, who unfortunately passed away earlier this month at the age of 58, and to everyone out there that's celebrating something. Salute. Ooh. Wow. Nice vanilla finish. But, folks, before we go on a quick break, I want to talk to you guys about something that's going on right now with the laws that are changing. And, Nala Health is one of our sponsors. And, I recently was talking to Victor on the phone about some changes. The hemp industry is getting attacked. And, Victor says that a lot of the stuff is going to be affecting him. But I hope that there's a good turnout for everything. I truly pray that things work out. And, for the time being, folks, if there was any changes to be made and, by next year, I hope that, again, something could be made of it, something positive. But for now, we're okay. The cannabis and hemp industry is still doing okay. So, folks, for holistic medication, for all your holistic needs, always remember to check out nalahealth.com. And, when you go into the checkout, and, now, especially after the Black Friday and all that stuff, and now Cyber Monday approaching, tomorrow will be Cyber Monday. TRP 10, you get an additional 10% off your so there's all those products are going to be on sale right now because of the Black Friday and Cyber Monday sale, but an additional 10% will come off because of the fact that you're listening to the Resilient Podcast right now. So I wanted to take a quick break. We'll be right back in about 30 seconds. And when we come back, I will continue to talk to you guys a little bit more about everything that's happening. I will talk to you about, more about seasonal depression, but I'll talk to you guys in a bit. All right, welcome back to episode 43 of the Resilient Podcast. So, I was talking before the break about, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and whatnot. Make sure that you guys take advantage of that. I definitely did some Black Friday shopping. I'm ready for some more additional Cyber Monday shopping. But, folks, this episode For the most part, I've been talking about seasonal depression. And, I want to talk about gratitude and uncertainty. For those of you that are listening right now and watching this episode, and you're going through something, whether it's heartbreak, family issues, loneliness, seasonal depression, uncertainty of any kind, just know this: you are not weak. You are not alone. And you're not failing. And I want you to know that. You are human. And sometimes being human is the bravest thing that you can be. I want to thank everyone for being here with me on this resilience journey. I want to thank you all because, again, this is the season of gratitude, right? We just had Thanksgiving. So I want to thank everyone for supporting the Resilient Podcast. Thank you for helping me turn, pain into purpose and purpose into legacy. And while we're on that note, everybody that's been following this journey is aware that I started documenting everything during this whole resilience journey. And, we were supposed to come out with a documentary. So those that have been following know that the Resilience Project is a documentary that was set to come out in a few days, December 3rd, 2 days before my grandmother's death anniversary. And mainly because the number itself, 12/3, which is December 3rd, 1, 2, 3, is backwards. It's actually, 1, 2, 3. Backwards of that would be 3, 2, 1, and 3, 2, 1 is exactly the date that my ex-girlfriend and I broke up last year. But I've been talking with Diego. I've been talking with everybody that's been handling post-production. And we came to terms with the fact that we won't be able to release the documentary in a few days. And that's only because post-production is not something easy to deal with. And, when I was told about this a few weeks ago, I said, let me save it for episode 43, because I wasn't made aware of this a while ago. It's not something too recent. It's recent, but not as recent as you may imagine. So, I spoke to a few folks and some people closer to me that are close to me. And I said to them, listen, this is the reality. Documentary is not going to be ready on the 3rd of December. So I wanted to let you all know that the documentary now is set to be released on December 30th, which is the day before New Year's Eve. So before we close out the old year of 2025, 2 days before 2026, everyone will get to see the release of the Resilience Project documentary. So I wanted to share that with you all because it's a very important update. And I do apologize in advance for the inconvenience for those that were looking forward to the documentary coming out in a few days. But I just wanted to make that announcement on this episode so that everybody can be aware of it. And I promise you that the wait will be worth it. Now that I got that out of the way, I want to take this time to also give a shout out to my mentor and personal counsel, my wise man, Matty Rock, and take this opportunity to also, folks, for those of you that drink coffee, if you go to this website right here on the bottom, you will visit this page and you'll be able to get Maddie Rock's coffee also for a discount with our code TRP10, just because you're listening to the Resilient Podcast. So for coffee lovers, please make sure that you indulge, because I already got my coffee on the way. Thanks to Maddie Rock. So, folks, we're coming to the end of this episode. And, out of the cards that James gave me last year, it goes back to how relevant this topic is, seasonal depression and whatnot. And today's card reads, it's okay to feel however you feel. So if you are feeling sad right now, it's okay to feel that way. If you're feeling angry or resentful or whatever the case may be, it's okay to feel the way you do. At the end of the day, folks, your feelings are valid. And you have to take the time to embrace it. You have to take the time to understand why you feel the way you do. And then that's the only way you will be able to fully be able to gather your thoughts together, process it the way you're supposed to, and then eventually do something about it, move forward, take action, take initiative. And whenever I'm feeling a certain way, I even if it's something I don't necessarily agree with, all I keep saying to myself is, okay, I've acknowledged that I feel the way that I do. Now, what are we going to do about it? Like the actual things that I may be feeling sad about. So again, that day, I was feeling sad when I came home from work the day before Thanksgiving, and I knew I needed to let some tears out. So this is what I did. I started to listen to some songs that remind me of my grandmother, some songs that I like, and the tears came out, and I let all the tears out. I let it all out of my system. I even had a friend of mine reach out to me, and she asked me, how are you feeling? And I said, listen, I'm not going to be able to talk to you tonight. I'm taking some time for myself. I promise I'll get back to you tomorrow. But I did what I needed to do. I was able to rest, believe it or not. And when I woke up on Thanksgiving, I didn't feel sad. And I'm glad that I was able to do that. So I'm not necessarily, listen, if it works for you, great. But if you're ever feeling sad and you feel that you just got to let it out of your system, if you got to listen to music, if you got to, watch a movie that reminds you of something or brings you back to a certain memory, if you need to go down memory lane, then do whatever it is. Make sure that it's a healthy thing, though. Don't drink yourself to death to get it out of your system. Don't get high or do something super spontaneous to try to get something out of your system. Please try to do it in a healthy way, because I don't want anybody out there getting hurt. So, as I close out this episode, I want to be honest. I know personally and firsthand that I don't have everything figured out when it comes to me, my resilience journey, everything that has to do with Rob. And, I am ending this year with questions, uncertainties, and moments where I have felt lost. But I'm also ending this year with gratitude. I'm literally grateful for the friends who have stayed, for the friendships that I've built this year. I'm grateful for the people who love me and they know who they are. I'm grateful for the people that support me, the ones that check on me and remind me that I matter. And one of those people is Maddie Rock, and I'm very thankful for that. And even though when it comes to relationships, right? Personal relationships, intimacy, even though I haven't cuddled with a woman in over a year, even though I haven't gone to bed next to a woman that I love, I still believe that love is somewhere in my future, despite everything. And I still believe resilience is a journey, not a destination. So, folks, I leave you with that. And I want to thank everyone that tunes in for this episode. I can't believe the end of the year is here. I mean, it's going to be December 1st tomorrow. And next thing you know, Christmas is here. And the Resilience Project documentary, a late Christmas gift for everyone. But folks, this is episode 43. This is full circle. And this, everything that has happened, everything that we have been through is resilience. So remember that. I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I appreciate you all from the bottom of my heart. I look forward to the next episode, which will be episode 44. And, you know, I'm feeling overwhelmed right now because knowing that December is around the corner, my grandmother's anniversary is coming up. My sister's birthday is the same day. And after that, on December 13th, John Cena is having his last match. And for those of you that love WWE and are fans of John Cena, if you look at this link right here, this link will show you the video that ARCG Media, my marketing agency, and the Resilient Podcast, a project that we collaborated on to actually give a nice farewell to John Cena. So it's available right now. Check it out by clicking on this right here. And folks, if you want to be on this podcast, don't hesitate to reach out. Follow us right here on the bottom where it says, Instagram and Twitter, The Resilient Pod. Visit our website, TheResilientTribune.com. If you want to write an article for the Resilience Tribune, reach out to me or email us at info@ResilienceTribune.com. And again, I truly appreciate you all from the bottom of my heart so much. And, you know, December is going to be another month for me to remember so many things, so many beautiful things. And you know, for those of you that are going through it right now, let's try to end. Actually, I don't like the word try. Let's end this year on a positive note. And in order for you to do that, always remain resilient. So that is all I have for you now. And I look forward to the next episode. Until then, this is Rob Aurelius. Thank you for tuning into the Resilient Podcast. And I will talk to you all soon. Peace.